Hello, welcome to Inside the Developer Studio. I'm Darius Johnson. I'm here today with Josh Augustine, known to some of you as Augur, which I believe is his developer moniker. Josh Augustine is well, I'll let him explain who he is. I'll just give you a little background on the show. I've actually only done this once before, but I was very pleased with it. And in general, what we're looking for in Inside the Developer Studio is we want to take existing game developers and talk to them, not necessarily about their titles, because they spend all the time in the world talking about that. You can watch any interview at E3 or any of these things. BlizzCon is going on right now, and you just listen to these people talk until they're blue in the face about whatever the marketing departments ask them to on that particular day. But I think I've always saw it kind of for from a personal perspective that it's more interesting to me the story behind people, and I think that a lot of people kind of want to get into the game industry, or if people want to get into the game industry, it's important, or it can be daunting, and people try and figure out, how do I make this move from, this great job that I have folding socks to making video games, and I think it's interesting for people to hear stories from people who were just, completely normal dudes who have, found ways, have had. It's interesting to find that developers have had similar life experiences to you, and that there's still a path for you to take. So in general, I try not to, be too serious with this. I try to, and really, I'm trying to get to scratch off the paint and get to I'm trying to expose the dev underneath the dev. Is that a clever way of putting it, Josh?
Yeah, it sounds very like 60 minutes. I feel so fancy.
Devs are like onions. Yeah.
Yeah. Scratch my surface, Sean. Let's see what's underneath.
All right. So we'll get started with. I already said your name, but I'm just gonna start with that. Why don't you tell me? Your name?
I am Joshua Daniel Augustine.
All right, Josh, and where do you work?
I work at, I almost said EVE Online because all the chat people keep talking about it.
Don't look at the
I did
chat
not work
people.
at EVE Online.
Just
I work at Sony Online Entertainment. I'm currently working as a game designer on EverQuest Next and Landmark.
Okay, and where are you from? Like, where were you born? Let's start with where you were born.
I was born in Riverside, California. Grew up in Temecula, Southern California, basically, in the good old U.S. of A.
It's wine country.
It is wine country. My parents actually live out in the wine country.
That's all I know about Temecula, because I drove through it once and it said wine country. I don't actually. I don't know if the wine there's any good.
So you just trust the sign?
Yeah,
that sign says.
If they could put wine country on my fucking lawn, and I'd be like, oh, it's wine country.
How fancy!
Yeah, wonderful.
Your rent is going up.
Yeah, it's beer country. So you were born in Riverside, you said, Temecula. Yeah. You grew up there, like you went to school there?
Yeah, went there.
So you've been half an hour from here your entire life, basically.
Pretty much. I moved up to San Francisco for a while, for like 5 or 6 years. And that's really the only time I've lived outside of, Southern California. I went to school in Irvine for college, so still pretty close.
San Francisco.
I like the weather here.
Were you up there to like protest things?
Yeah, become a hippie, Also, cheer for the Giants, all sorts of stuff.
Smoke a bunch of weed. You can walk around naked in the streets in San Francisco.
Yeah, it's cool. It's lewd, or it's nude, not lewd, buddy. Yeah. Come on.
All right, I thought you were gonna say it's lewd, and I was like, no, dude, that's just being free. So you went to school in Irvine. What kind of school was that? Was that high school or college or?
College. I went to UC Irvine, studying English. I actually started as computer science. Then found out that coding is
it's too hard for you.
It's too hard, man.
It's too hard. You're like the veterinarian of programmers, basically.
Yeah. Aw. Yeah. Man, it's not just that it's hard. It's super frustrating because your code never works perfectly, and it's always like a semicolon somewhere. So I spent and actually you'll appreciate this. Okay. The worst schedule of all time. For college degrees, at least. All your projects in computer science can't be finished. You just have to get as far as you can, and the deadlines were Friday at midnight. So instead of, after you're done with your Friday classes, going out, having a little fun, hanging out with people, no. As a computer science major, you go back to your room and you try and finish as much of your project as you can until midnight, and then you just get depressed because you didn't finish it, and then you spend the rest of the weekend crying.
Uh, Why would you think I could relate to that? That's
I don't know.
you,
I feel
you look like a crier.
you look like someone who's had a good cry in their time.
All right. So, what made you decide to go from, aside from the fact that it was, in your words, soul destroying, and that all the teachers at UC Irvine are hacks? What made you?
Those were
move
my
in?
exact words. Well done. I didn't think you were listening.
I pay attention. That's why I get an interview show. The what made you switch to English?
So I tried art for a while because art
Like
seemed
what?
really cool.
Like, what did you do? Like sculpt or paint or
I did drawing. I did
drawing?
like drawing 101 or whatever it is.
What did you draw? What was your favorite thing that you drew? Do you still have it?
No, I hated all of it. I burned it all. I threw it in the trash and then I just burned it. Yeah, it was. So I drew a big.
You sure you didn't save one?
What?
You sure you didn't save at least one drawing?
No. I have some artwork from like high school that my mom
you?
actually framed
Do
because
you?
she was. Yeah.
Can you show me?
No, I don't. It's in a closet somewhere.
Oh.
I don't think you really want me to go search for it. It'd
thought
be like
you'd
half
hang it
the
up.
show.
I would have had, like, if my mom ever framed anything of mine, I would still have it right here by my desk because
Well, that's because you're just a better son than
I'm
me.
a good son. That's what I was getting at. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you for
Okay.
shaming me. I
So-
hope my mom. No,
That's what we do here. It's very
bring on Debs and shame them.
yes. Everything. Gonna have a good cry afterwards. The So you did art for a while. Did you just take the one class drawing?
Yeah, so I took the one class. One of the things I drew was like a giant quarter or something. It was for
The
some.
coin.
Yeah, like a quarter, yeah, like a coin, but it was like massive, right? And the teacher was like, "Oh, this reminds me of Andy Warhol," trying to be nice or whatever. At the time, I didn't know who Andy Warhol was, so I was just like, "Oh, who's that?" And he got so angry at me,
Wow.
and he started yelling. And then after that, I just did not enjoy that class anymore because he didn't like anything I did after that. Nothing was right. I was like the worst student, and it ends up I'm actually terrible at arts. So I mean, the quarter was terrible. That's why I got rid of it because it's like.
Didn't we learn from Hitler? Did we learn nothing?
Yeah. So I'm not planning to go on a homicidal killing spree or genocide or anything, but if I do, it's probably that guy's fault. Let's be honest.
Did he
So,
have
yeah,
did he have an Austrian accent by any chance?
No, he did not.
Because this could have been the guy.
Could have been. It was like 90 years old.
He never let you see his arm. He always had bulgy sweaters that looked like he was wearing a uniform underneath, but nobody could quite make out what.
And he had really strict requirements for what we could draw. It was really weird.
Oh, goodness
Then I
gracious.
decided I was actually good at writing, and I was sick of doing things that I wasn't good at. So I decided to go do something that I was good at to boost my self-esteem. And so
Yeah.
I stuck with writing.
And what was your favorite class? It doesn't really
Oh,
have
dude.
to be writing.
Ghost stories. It's such a good class.
You had to write
I-
ghost stories?
No, dude, not right. It was literature. So it was basically like the best ghost stories of all time in literature. But they went through and like, she was an awesome teacher 'cause she was like super pale and super frail. She looked kind of like a ghost herself, and I like to, believe that she was a ghost coming back to tell other ghost stories. But
That's that's the artist in you. It's you being creative.
right there. I shouldn't be drawing quarters. I should be telling ghost stories.
Yeah.
I think is the problem. Maybe drawing ghosts. Maybe I can meet in the middle.
Yeah. If this was back before we could draw words,
Yeah.
that would probably be your job. You would be like the guy in the village who would tell everyone the stories.
Yeah, I could be. Yeah, I'm kind of like an old man, anyways. So I'd totally be like the wise old guy. Probably, I'd merge it with the medicine man too, because I'm not a big fan of like all this fancy modern science.
Oh, that's your time in San Francisco coming back.
Yeah,
Do you
it totally is.
Do you sleep
That's
with
like-
crystals on your head?
I drove through Berkeley every day, and it just kind of wore off on me. I think after a while, the smell just lingers.
So you were talking about your ghost story class. What was
Dude,
it? You guys just kind of read ghost stories?
Yeah. Well, everyone brought.
I've never been
tents,
to school.
and then we held flashlights to our faces. Like-
You play truth or dare?
Yeah. No, it was awesome. It was like talking about kind of different types of ghost stories. So like suspense ghost stories, horror ghost stories, kind of the mechanisms you use to frighten people, and whether it's it's more terrifying when you never actually know if it's real or not, or like if it's actually a ghost, or if you know it's the ghost of his deceased wife or whatever. But the best ghost story of all time, 30-second version here. It's called Green Tea, and if you haven't read it, and I'm sure you haven't because I'd never heard of it before this class, you should go read it. It's basically about this like, I can't remember if he's like ex-clergy or like a professor. He's like an intellectual kind of guy. But he starts seeing this monkey that stares at him. And it starts following him around. He's like going on the bus, and it's like clawing on the outside of the bus, trying to get in and stuff.
Is it
And
his
it goes
wife?
through like, yes,
Sorry, I didn't mean to spoil it. Yeah.
surprise, he's very chimpanzee, and he's trying to get away from her. But it's like, and then it starts telling him to like kill people and like kill himself and all this sort of stuff. And then it gets darker and darker.
The
And he's,
Matani the monkey.
I would totally read that book. That'd be awesome.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Then spoiler, he hangs himself, and then the monkey like I forget the monkey like goes after someone else, or the monkey like hung him or something. It's really weird. I don't remember, but I just remember really liking it. And the dude drinks green tea nonstop. So there you go.
So that's
Don't
why
drink
it's called green tea.
Yeah, because his theory was like whenever you work on a project, you have to binge on something, and so like what you're either like binging on a certain tea or a certain coffee or whatever based on the different projects you're on. And I found that actually is to be fairly true in life. Like when I'm working on something, I'll usually binge on like a certain album or an artist and just like play that music constantly whenever I'm working on it. That was actually jumping into a little game development.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing to do when I was like designing zones and stuff in games or designing different things is pick an album that kind of creates that mood and feel or whatever. Whenever I'm working on it, writing the stories about it, like play that album nonstop in my headphones. I don't know. I just really like using that to kind of get in the mood.
Oh, that works. I find that I can't create if I'm not in pain. So I
Like physical pain or
yeah,
emotional?
I have like a knife in my pocket and I just kind of stab myself in the leg as I'm typing, and that's when I'm at my most creative. Or one of those things like the dude in whatchamacallit, that stupid book that everyone was reading for a while. You know what I'm talking about. Damn it.
Harry Potter?
Da Vinci Code. Da Vinci Code.
Oh, Da
The
Vinci
priest had one of those little spiky things he wears on his thigh that's like stabbing him all day.
What? I did not read that. Why would he be stabbing himself all
Because
day?
he's Opus Dei, dude, and that's what Jesus wants or something. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not in charge of that. I was just trying to make a joke about pain, and then we ended
Hey.
up here.
Well, I'm glad you're stabbing yourself in the leg. I mean, there's worse places you could stab yourself. At least there you can keep it hidden, with jeans and stuff.
Yeah, and I'm hoping like that's how I'll get out of Vietnam if I ever end up there. I'll just be like I can't walk. I've been stabbed in the leg.
How is that going to get you out of Vietnam? It seems like that would keep you trapped in Vietnam. You'd be like a weak target.
No, I wouldn't be able to fight, so they'd send me home.
Oh, so you're saying if you time travel back 30 years when the Vietnam War is happening,
Yeah,
you'll be able to get out of it. Well, thank God. All right, good.
that's my escape plan. The you were talking about your teacher. Did you have a particular teacher like in your life who influenced you, especially? Yeah.
Actually,
was it
so
the Ghost Stories lady?
Yeah, no, it wasn't. Although she was awesome. She did help me write my first like real story,
Yeah.
which was really fun. But actually, my high school English teacher, really, 'cause he's the one that kind of taught me about English. He approached English, the class English, not the language, as kind of like a philosophy class. So it's more about like reading literature and kind of using the metaphors and stories that they tell in there to learn about humans and what we do and why we do what we do. It was just a really interesting way to look at it because before it was always, read the story, memorize who says what and what happens, and maybe like talk about one of the really obvious metaphors in the book, like, oh, they're actually talking about slavery, and you're like, oh, okay, I get it. But he really kind of dove deeper than that and broke down and talking about like tying in like Plato's philosophy and how it's so significant that when he's pulling in the fish and Old Man in the Sea, like his left hand gets cut instead of his right hand because left hand represents man's weakness and all this sort of stuff. Where some of it, is very kind of intellectual and not very worth much outside of the classroom. But
That's a good question.
yeah,
Do you suppose That the guy who was writing it really thought that shit, or do you think that teachers just kind of made that up after the fact?
So there are definitely some writers that you can tell totally were meaning that because there's just stuff that just makes no sense and like the book is so cerebral anyways. But there's plenty of ones where the writers are just or the teachers are making it up, and that was the most frustrating part about being in an English major
Yeah.
because we'd read a book and then you have to write a story and like write a paper about it. And in your discussion group, you talk about, okay, what argument did you make? Da da da. Well, I think the reader was talking about Christmas or whatever. And it doesn't actually matter if you're right or if it could even possibly be true. Because the writer didn't even live in a country where Christmas was celebrated. Like it doesn't matter if you can argue it. Then good job, you get an A or whatever your grade is based on how well you wrote it.
Dumb as hell. This is English class is the most millennial class I've ever heard.
So
everyone gets a gold.
So it's very easy to not get a gold, right? Because you can make your argument poorly. So it's almost more like a debate class in that way. Like you just have to be good at making arguments and good at finding stuff to make arguments about. But whether you're actually right or wrong doesn't matter because the teacher will be like, hooray, and oh yeah, and the more like kind of out there it is and out of the box, then the teacher like loves it because they haven't heard it before and like, oh, that's so good. You're right. Da Vinci Code probably was about, aliens sleeping in volcanoes that are going to explode. But it does get maddening at times because some people take advantage of that because there's always like the douchey guy up front. It's like, yeah, well, I think it's a metaphor about Jesus. And you're like,
does he look like that? Because that guy looked kind of like a stoner. What you just did. Yeah.
He probably was. Let's be honest.
Every book he's like, I think it's about weed.
Yeah, yeah. Like, how do we even know we're here? Oh man, that was the most annoying class. Philosophy.
Fuck philosophy. What a waste of time.
So philosophy can be interesting to me. But I took it right when The Matrix came out. I can't remember what year it was, right? Like early 2000s or whatever. So there's just like one guy in the classroom who decides that The Matrix is clearly telling us the truth. Like, thank God the movie revealed reality to us.
Yeah, it's a real theory.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
Yeah, there's like whole websites. Somebody I know was writing a story about that or something, like a research
people that
story.
actually believe it?
Yeah, because it's been broken down to a degree that like there's actual odds where it's more likely that we're part of a computer simulation than we're real or something like that. I don't know where that's as much. That's the extent that I pay attention to this dumb bullshit. So I really couldn't tell you much more than that.
Because I want to know, like, did these people believe this before The Matrix, or did they actually see The Matrix and be like, okay, I'm going to base my life around that movie?
Yeah, I don't know.
One of those seems extremely more pathetic than the other one.
Well, I think it is that sociology is so ridiculously stupid that that the thing is that because computer simulations actually exist and we don't know how to create life, then the odds of creating a computer simulation become higher than the odds of actually creating a life. I have no idea. Yeah, okay. Whatever. They can all just get fucked. It's a big waste. Somebody got paid for that. Yeah.
You're saying you don't know any more about this? You are clearly like up to speed on this. You just explained it in very intricate, detailed way.
I could have just made all that up. I might have just invented that.
Well, you kind of convinced me. You should probably start like a fake religion or something. You're very charismatic.
We're all part of a computer. Yeah, like Jonestown.
Yeah.
Kool-Aid for everybody.
I'm in. You can throw in a sweet jogging suit, so we can match. And yeah.
This teacher, I asked the teacher question specifically because I have an ulterior motive, which is I suspect that over time I'm going to find.
Bring him on the show?
Yeah. Do you have him there? I always keep him with me because he's so inspiring. It's just a little midget teacher.
He's bound and gagged in the corner.
Yeah. Inspire me, teacher. What was I thinking? Oh yeah, so one of the like a theory that I have, which is great, and this is what sociology does, is everyone can be right all of the time. Is that an inordinate amount of people are touched so much by a particular teacher that actually frames what they end up doing later on. Like, it's not the subject matter that you're actually drawn to, it was somebody who made you like the subject matter, and then people, when they're good at something, tend to keep gravitating towards that. So what I'm trying to do over time is sort out whether now I'm 2 for 2 basically. The people who had the inspiring teachers went on to study whatever it was that one class, that one teacher
Yeah.
taught them with. So, to
Can I tell
break
you
down
about
the third wall. Go for it.
to do a counter proposal here? Can I tell you about my creepiest English teacher?
Yeah, you can. I hope it's a good one.
Okay, it's short, but I think it's.
Take your
I think
time.
it's
We have like a half hour left.
okay. I will draw out the story as much as possible. So, in middle school, I loved to eat Cheez-Its during lunch.
Yeah.
So, what's my middle
This
school?
is a Stephen King story now.
Yeah. Oh man. It was kind of this kind of frail elderly lady who was our English teacher, and she would read us poetry, and it was like really weird poetry. And we also read the book Prayer for Owen Meany. Have you read that book at all or seen the movie?
No, I make it a habit not to read.
Okay, you should not read this book. It's really weird, but like part of it is like it's like this guy who's a friend with a midget, and they like do stuff, but it's like a really sexual book, and it's really really weird. Like it's just a really weird book, right?
Does he do creepy sex shit with the midget?
It's not like directly, but like they sneak under a bed and hang out while people are having sex on the bed above them, and then like
is the midget real?
What?
Is the midget real, or is it a metaphor for something?
No, it's real.
Right.
And then like the midget kind of hits puberty, and then they do weird stuff. Like nothing like super sketchy, but the whole thing is weird. So, anyways, it was just kind of like we were kind of weirded out by this teacher in general in the first place. But then she told us how I don't remember what night. It was like Wednesday night, right? Every Wednesday night, she goes to the cemetery on gravestones and writes the poetry that she's been reading in class to us.
That's healthy.
Yeah, like I just don't even know what to do with that. Like, I understand if you feel compelled to do that sort of stuff. We all have weird compulsions. That's fine. But you don't just like go out and tell a bunch of like 7th graders, you know what's a good activity, kids? Going to the graveyard. You find your local graveyard. Go sit on gravestones. Yeah, at night.
Isn't that illegal?
Yeah.
Don't they usually close at night?
I don't know. Maybe,
Probably.
probably.
Probably just goes there to go to sleep. She was probably some fucking sounds ghoulish. She just lives in one of the mausoleums.
Yeah, hey, that's cool. Probably gives her inspiration for dark and twisted stories.
Was she creepy looking?
No, not really. She just kind of looked a little decrepit. So I mean,
old people look creepy.
Yeah, you could argue a little corpse-like.
Oh. I had a French teacher who was creepy, and she was creepy in a way. This is a military school, so she's an older French teacher lady who helped us learn French by letting us watch French pornography. Yeah.
Okay, that's
It was it wasn't necessarily pornography like butt and balls the whole time or anything. But it was like it was. I mean, to
guy
us,
shows up and that
like,
sort of stuff.
No, not like that. Like in Texas, a French. Let's just say European ideas of sexuality are different than the South's ideas of sexuality. So
you're saying it was freaky stuff?
There was nudity and there was sex in the stuff, but it wasn't like close-up shots of vaginas or anything like that. Yeah. So
were you guys minors at the time? I'm just curious.
Yes, but this statute of limitations is long since passed on this one.
Okay, so they're good.
Yeah. No, we were minors, but we were older minors too. Like I think this was high school, so I mean, we were minors, but like
you already
some
knew
boobies.
stuff.
It was nothing. It wasn't that much worse than if you've ever seen the Romeo and Juliet movie.
I don't. Maybe
You ever had to watch that in high school? No, the original one with the. No, I don't know if it's the original, but it was like the '70s one or whatever.
Dude, Sean, if it doesn't have DiCaprio in it, I haven't seen it.
Wow. Well, yeah, you're a little young for like good movies, but this this one was awkward because you watched it in like every high school English class when I was a boy.
Okay.
And the girl gets naked and they have sex, which was like the best part. And like some teachers will fast forward through it, but the fun ones let you watch.
I'm surprised this is a staple in education. If
in the public school system, this is what we do.
All right.
But so it wasn't much worse than that. It was just more of it because it was European and they're all Satan worshipping heathens.
Sounds about right.
So you get through school, you get an English major, and then you do what?
and then I resigned myself to making no money for the rest of my life.
Huh.
Um, I actually wanted to be a teacher, an English teacher. There you go. There's another proof for your being inspired by something. I wanted to be a high school English teacher.
You wanted to do for other children what your teacher had done for you.
Yeah. So I went and registered for a degree program, and I got like halfway through my first semester or halfway through my second semester. I can't remember. And the satellite campus I was at for SDSU shut down. And it was just like, well, see ya. Here's a refund for your check. You can try again next year. Which
That's kind of life altering.
yeah. And it was like,
Sorry,
okay,
college is done.
so college is canceled. You just weren't cutting it. So yeah,
If you guys had gotten better grades, it's like a divorce. You have to blame yourself. Maybe if I studied harder, the school would still be there.
If I had shown up to more extra activities, you know.
If only I'd done the band camp.
Yeah. If I hadn't drank all that water from the fountain, I mean, their bills would have been lower.
That's no joke around here.
Yeah, no joke. So yeah, so I had like 7 months where I couldn't really do anything, so I was just planning to go back. And so I decided, I knew PC Gamer had been in one of my favorite magazines for a long time. My uncle gave it to me when I was like 10 or whatever, and I'd been reading it ever since. And I knew that they had interns a lot because they kind of always made fun of the interns and had them in the magazine. So I just kind of sent them an email to their letters asking them if they wanted an intern. And I think it was Logan Decker, I think, that got back to me. And it was really weird. They're just like, hey, yeah, we'd be interested. Are you willing to fly up here to talk with us? So I said, sure. You know, I flew up there. Southern California is like $50 to fly up there. No big deal. Flew up there, did the interview, and then they said, great, can you start this week? And so I just, I had family that lived up there. They lived about 2.5 hours outside San Francisco, where the office was. So I commuted like, a total of like 5 hours a day. But I got to
that.
but I got to live for free. And, you know, got to see some nice scenery and drive through Berkeley every day and listen to 20 hours of podcasts or whatever. And then it was a free internship, which was...
But you didn't get paid either.
No, I didn't get paid.
Basically, all you're doing is losing money at this job.
Yeah, but but I was investing in my future,
Okay.
Sean.
Yeah.
And the reason I could do it was I had worked during summers for the water district down here as an internship that was paid. As 40 hours a week
Probably
during the
pays you
summer.
gold for what they charge for fucking water here. Yeah.
Yeah. It was pretty good.
It's my biggest bill is my water bill.
Is it really? More than
Well,
electricity?
because it's only every 3 months, though.
Oh, okay. How'd you pull that off? That's weird.
My water bill's every 3 months, and it's as expensive as my electricity bill, if not more.
Dude, that's crazy.
Anyway, go ahead. You were
Yeah, and so...
saved money.
Oh, and then I started doing... Well, I had saved some money, but then after I left the internship, I had been working as a database administrator there. And I'd kind of learned enough that they kept me on as an independent contractor that could work remotely. So I was working 20 hours a week in the evenings and weekend for them, and government work, contract work pays bank. Yeah. And so I was basically making enough to pay for everything for the free internship at PC Gamer.
Yeah. And just so you know, anyone who sends me a letter asking if they can be an intern, I will say yes. And it will also be a free internship. I can't guarantee you'll better yourself or really learn much of anything.
But you'll make contacts, right?
You'll be there.
They could probably get some beer off your desk too, I imagine.
Anybody touches my beer, they're getting stabbed.
Okay. As he's stabbing his leg, he'll take a break and stab you.
Do it. I want to learn how to throw it so I can throw a knife like strategically.
Yeah.
If somebody does, I always want to do that like in a movie.
Yeah, how they like the guys on the board or whatever, and you're throwing around their head.
Yeah, or like someone goes to do something, you're like, whoosh, and it lands like right near where they're about to go, so they know not to do it. Like,
yeah.
Like next one's in your neck.
See, the thing I don't get about that is how do you possibly practice that? Because
I have kids, so they're very fast. And they heal quickly.
They move too quick, though. There's no way you're not going to hit a kid, because they're moving like 10 miles an hour.
Try it. You try hitting a fucking kid with a knife and see how that works.
I don't think I should. That seems like really bad advice.
So you went to PC Gamer.
Yeah.
and you interned there, and how did things proceed from there? Like, let's get through the gap between. So somehow you're at PC Gamer as an intern, and then stuff happens, and you end up making video games. How does that
All right.
whole story
So I got
arc
a point
occur?
now. I learned more at PC Gamer in my first like 6 months than I did my entirety at college. So it was just super useful having an editor there. So I worked there for free for about a year. The WoW magazine kicked off at the same company. It's at Future US, which had a lot of different properties and magazines and websites and stuff. And I primarily was taken on at PC Gamer because I knew MMOs, and nobody there did. And so when the WoW magazine kicked off, I'd been playing a ton of WoW. I'd been writing a ton of WoW stuff for PC Gamer. And so my editor-in-chief actually went down to the guy who was running the WoW magazine and yelled at him and told him that he had to hire me or he was an idiot. And so that
usually
was
works really
useful.
well. Yeah, that's what I do. Like if on a job interview, if you need help with job interviews, what I do is I go and I'm like, you have to hire me or you're a fucking idiot. And
But see, the trick is
every
you
time.
can't do it because then you look like an asshole.
Oh.
So you just have to get someone else to do it for you, and then you're just like, oh, you know what?
You could give a homeless guy $5.
Yeah.
You gotta hire this guy.
This guy, drunken homeless guy, just raving in the lobby. It's guaranteed to work every time.
It works 100% of the time.
100%. So yeah, so they hired me there. I worked there for about a year, and that's how long the magazine lasted, and then the magazine shut down, which is a clear testament to my skills.
What was
as
it
an
called?
editor. It was World of Warcraft, the official magazine.
Wasn't called something cool like "Wow" with an exclamation point?
No. We did try to get that domain name, though. WoW.com, and it was surprisingly expensive, or maybe unsurprising.
What is it used for?
It's some at the time. This is like 6 years ago. It's for like sales, as like giveaways, like wow, look at this savings or whatever.
Now it's nothing.
Is it really? Well, that makes sense.
All it is it's owned by AOL.
Oh, well, that's because they're probably still asking like $20 gazillion for it or whatever they were.
It's owned by AOL. It looks like, and it just has a Google search engine bar.
It's kind of a waste. It seems like a great address.
Just search for ugly people and see yeah, it's a search engine that's just enhanced by Google.
What?
Yeah,
well, why would you do that? What does that even mean? Like it's just a bad Google search engine?
Yeah, it's just Google.
Oh.
It even just looks like Google.
All right.
And it even says enhanced by Google right on it. Like it's not even like they're trying to act like it's their own.
Oh. All right. Maybe I should start a website that does that.
You
if
should.
they're making enough money to pay for that domain.
Yeah. Maybe you did buy it, and this is what they're doing
Maybe
now.
this is what they're doing. They canceled the magazine. We're just going to do an altered search engine.
Well, why don't we just rebrand Google? They seem to make some money. It's Google. Those Google folks seem to be doing okay.
Just literally steal their stuff.
Yeah.
Perfect.
We put their logo on it. It's okay. We give them credit.
Yeah. They don't care then.
So this WoW magazine closes.
Yeah, and then
Are you really sad?
Yeah, it was sad. It was that was the most beautiful magazine I worked on because since it was Blizzard and Blizzard, puts
Blizzard
money
owned
into
it.
their products.
Was it similar to say Eon on the Eve side, where it's like
Yes.
like a labor of love that will never make money?
Yes, sort of. It did make so Future US was the publisher, and we handled the printing of the magazine, making the magazine. Blizzard had to approve everything and gave us, inside access to content. Mm-hmm. So it was making money for Future, but not necessarily for Blizzard, because Blizzard cared more about just getting loyalty out of it.
Yeah.
They may have made money off of it.
It's
I don't
marketing
actually know.
material, and it's a way to tie people to your game when they can't be sitting in front of a computer.
Yeah, exactly.
This is before tablets and shit, so.
Yeah. So they actually insisted that it be like gorgeous. So it's actually like the magazine is like it's the European size, like like Edge, like that kind of format where it's kind of bigger and wider, and all the stock of the paper is super thick and glossy. And we did like beveled titles and stuff all over. Yeah, it was gorgeous.
Yeah, that's how kind of Eon is. It's thick, it's glossy, it's got a lot of artwork. Like it's clearly it's not like going to the store and getting a thin paper piece of shit like PC Gamer or something.
It's more like it's more like you'd put it on your coffee table or something and show it off.
Yeah. It looks more like if you bought like comic books, like when they redo them, is like they'll take a whole series and publish it in one book. kind of
Yeah.
similar in binding to that,
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
Totally.
All right. And so they canceled this. Basically, you didn't do a good enough job, and they canceled the magazine.
Yeah, it was
And
really just me specifically. They're just like, we got to cut Josh, but let's just kill the whole thing.
yeah, they're like, we could replace him, but
It's just easier.
why don't we just cancel this fucking magazine?
Yeah, so the magazine got shut down. At that point, an editor spot had opened up at PC Gamer, so I went over there. So then I was full time, actually getting paid at PC Gamer, which was awesome, and worked there
You
for.
weren't getting paid at WoW magazine.
No, sorry, I was getting paid at WoW.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's
so
a
yeah.
long time and not getting paid.
Yeah, no, it was like a year of not getting paid. But then
I've
got
got
paid
a job
at WoW.
like that if you want it. You can come work, and
Yeah,
I won't pay you. Yeah.
Well, you don't even let me touch your beer, so no
I'll
thanks.
give you a beer
Let's
if
hang
you,
out
if
over
you
here.
come work for free.
One beer,
Yeah.
one-time payment. It'll
Okay,
probably be like a crappy Bud Light or something.
I'm paying it forward. Coors Light. This is we only drink the Silver Bullet in this house, my friend.
Yeah. Are the Rockies blue? Can you tell that it's cold?
Yep, La Bala La Plata. So you move over to PC Gamer, get paid to be an editor.
Yeah, and focused mostly on MMOs and MOBAs like League of Legends and Dota. And so I got to know a lot of MMO developers, a lot of MMO PR people, and stuff like that. Just over the years working with them, and so after a while, I was
Which
looking
was
to get
how
out
we
of.
all met, actually.
Yeah, that's true actually. Yeah, because that was one of the most fun trips I got to do.
Yeah.
Was head out to CCP for. I don't remember which CSM it was. It's probably like 4 years ago, 3 years ago.
It wasn't the one I was on.
No.
I had a New York Times reporter that I trolled the shit out of. Got him to print
Yeah.
some stuff that made the rest of the CSM really mad.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Well, New York Times reporter normally much harder to troll than me, but in the case of games, I'm sure they were much more easily trolled.
This guy printed everything I said, word for word.
Yeah, I thankfully was not quite that foolish. Although that didn't stop guys like Asher from trying.
Yeah, well, Asher's a clever one. Like,
Yes.
yeah, he can't even tell you. Like, he's the kind of person who starts laughing at the punchline before he finishes the joke. So he can't,
I appreciate that.
can't get
'Cause I'm
away
the
with
kind of
it.
guy, when I try and trick you, I start giggling because I think it's funny.
Like my son. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's
Yes,
5 years
I am
old.
in fact like a 5-year-old child.
And I have to
in many
pretend.
ways.
I have to pretend that I don't know what's going. Oh, I don't know if he's gonna pretend tickle me, and it's not gonna
God.
tickle. Yeah.
I will never pretend tickle you. I can promise you that much at least.
Thank God. That's one nightmare we can resolve.
Yeah.
So you're working at PC Gamer. You get to go over to CCP and cover MMO stuff and do fun stuff. How do you end up making video games?
So I knew I knew I wanted to leave. I wanted to try going on to the development side of things, just because it's fine being a critic and kind of writing about games and stuff, and there's a lot of great value there. But at the end of the day, you don't really create anything. You create videos and stuff like that, but I wanted to create like stories and stuff like that. So I just kind of reached out to the PR people that I knew in the game studios that I wanted to work at in areas that I wanted to live, essentially, and just kind of like, hey, I don't have any experience, but I've been judging and being involved in MMOs for like 5 years.
I've been watching here, judging you.
There has to be a better way to say that, right? Like, I've been lending a critical eye and analyzing MMOs and seeing what works well and what doesn't. I don't know.
This has always blown my mind. Let me interject for a second and ask you another question. What the fuck qualifies someone who's never worked on a game to judge people who work on games?
So,
like, what made you feel that you were more an expert on the thing than the people actually creating the product?
okay, so here's the thing.
All right.
I totally get what you're saying, and the answer to your question is nothing. But that's not really what journalism is trying to do.
Okay.
At least good journalism isn't trying to judge.
Can we say ethical journalism so we can?
Yeah, and even useful journalism, right? Because articles that do that sort of stuff aren't useful to anybody.
Yeah.
But what they should be trying to do is help the readers or the viewers or whatever kind of the audience first decide how to spend their money and get more value out of the games that they're playing or want to play. And so it's more about that. It's not about like, oh, did they do good? Did they do bad? but it's about, you have $50. Which game should you buy? Let me help you pick a choice that you'll be happy with. And then once you pick it, let me show you how you can have more fun while playing it. Like that's the sort of stuff
Yeah.
that I find valuable. But and I mean that's honestly that's kind of part of the reason why I kind of wanted to get out of the industry or that side of the industry and move to development was that there a lot of journalists are very jaded and cynical, and it's not a very fun environment sometimes because some of them are just, and not all of them, right? There are a lot of very good journalists, but some of them are very clearly just there to make fun of people,
Yeah.
and that's not something I'm interested in being a part of, and it just kind of drains on you after a while.
What about that guy who wrote that really good Sims review where he just shit all over it? You know
Yeah,
the guy I'm talking about? That guy
yeah.
rules. It was like their 75th DLC or something like that, and he was forced to write a review of it, and he
Yeah.
just. Do you know the one I'm talking about?
Yes, I think I
I
read
think
it.
he actually writes for PC Gamer. I think I
Yeah,
sent it to you, and I was like, "Did this guy work for you? Because he's
yeah.
wonderful." Yeah. Okay.
That was like
Yeah.
2 years ago. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember.
I
Yeah, it was a
follow
long
him on
time
Twitter
ago.
because he's a fucking gem. He's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. It was. Yeah, it was something. Oh, what was it? It was like sponsored by Paris Hilton or something. I can't remember.
It
But
was a
yeah,
really dumb DLC, and he was forced to write it, and then they got mad at the review he gave and tried to have him fired, so they let him review the next one as well. Like it was this whole.
and man, it's so refreshing to see that sort of
Yeah,
stuff
there it is.
happen.
Steve Hogarty. Somebody knew
Steve
who it was.
Hogarty,
Yeah.
nice,
Yes.
nice.
It was the H&M Sims 2 DLC.
Oh yeah, I knew it was some corporate sponsor or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is. Oh man, that is like a classic. Um,
He's written other ones like that too. He doesn't only do that when he gets.
oh
When he
really?
gets put. Yeah, I've seen some other nasty reviews
See,
out of him.
I need to
Yeah.
read more of his stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not very good at tracking specific writers like that, especially if they're freelance and where they bounce around. It's so hard to keep track where their stuff is showing up.
Yeah. Well, at any rate, so you're writing for PC Gamer, and you sent some mails around basically telling people, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. Uh, I've been writing stuff about your games, and I want a job.
Yeah, pretty much. And SOE was very kind. They actually got me on the phone with some people at the company that really knew how game development worked and kind of sat down with me and said, like, okay, what do you want to do? And so I kind of explained in general what I wanted to do, not really using the right game terms, right? Because I didn't know. And they're like, oh, okay, it sounds like you want to do this sort of stuff. You want to do content design. So you might have to do some sort of systems design along with that and kind of explain how it works. And then they just kind of, I flew down to the studio and did interview process where I sat down with representatives from each of the company, or sorry, from each of the games made by SOE at the time. And they just said, okay, why should we hire you? And I just had to kind of make a case for it or what I would do for them, which was awesome, but it's also very weird because I didn't realize it was going to be with everybody because like, I wanted to tell stories. I wanted to write stories and
Oh, didn't you?
adventures.
Yeah, didn't you have an issue where you weren't even? There was a period where you didn't even know you were interviewing. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Like,
you just
yes,
thought you were having a friendly chat, and it
my
turned out
very
it was an
first call with them, I was told, oh, cool, we'll put you on the phone with someone that can just, help you figure out how things work here. And I was like, okay, cool. Like they were just going to give me information. And it was Russ Shanks, who's like the second in command of SOE.
Yeah.
And they told me it was Russ Shanks as they were transferring me to him. So I thought I was just going to talk with some lowly designer. Like I didn't have questions prepared. I didn't have anything. Like I don't have a resume.
Probably
She's
still
like,
in the
hey, I'm
toilet.
Russ Shanks. I'm like, oh man.
I hope he doesn't hear the bathroom stall echo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it felt like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then eventually just kind of talked with them and worked out an arrangement where, they would bring me on their teams and kind of help me learn the ropes. And I'm like, even if like I'm really happy at SOE, I would be fine staying there for a long time. But even if I don't, like I will be eternally grateful to them for giving me the opportunity because, like, frankly, there was no reason for them to.
Yeah.
And that's why it's hard when people ask me, like, "Oh, how'd you get into the game industry?" Like, trying to like follow it.
I
Like,
asked. Yeah.
yeah. Well, and not like you, because you're asking for information, right? But when I'm talking with people that have like been trying really hard, and I tell them, "Oh, I work at SOE," they're like, "Oh, cool. How'd you do it? Like, how can I do it?" And it's like I can't really recommend my way, right? Because my way was doing 6 years one of which was unpaid in a only semi-related field, and then jumping over because people were kind to me. Like, not because, I had earned it. It's not like a fail-proof way to get into the game industry at all.
Yeah, I had that happen with forensics actually, because a long time ago there was no when it started as a security thing.
Hmm.
There were no college courses you could take. There was no formal study.
Yeah.
So people are like, "How'd you get into forensics? It's so cool." And I'd be like, "Well, first, someone at the company you work at has to commit a crime, yeah. and then they have to decide that you're the one that has to investigate the crime, and then they have to send you to specialized training, and then, as if by magic, you're a forensic." So like, just this real providential sequence of events needs to occur before you get from point A to point B, and I can't tell you how to replicate that.
Is that true that someone committed a crime and then challenged you to investigate them? This sounds like a
No,
Sherlock
no, 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 no,
episode.
no. Someone commits a crime, and then the company has
Oh,
or
got
somebody
it.
commits a crime or does something that is crime-like, and the
Yeah.
company decides it wants to investigate, so it needs a trusted employee who's
Yeah.
technical enough and far enough along a path who can handle the investigation and can be
I thought
trusted.
it was the same guy. I thought he came to you and was
Yeah, he
like,
comes to me and he's
I've
like,
stolen
"I did something fucked up.
Yeah.
Figure
But I
out where the
need you to
body is."
prove it.
Yeah, I dare you. No, that's not how it goes down. So,
Okay.
what is auger from? Isn't that something you use to fucking shave wood?
Nah, dude, Augur is like the Roman. It's kind of like a Roman male oracle. He
Oh,
would
you
like
know who would like
tear
that
up
story
animals and
is
look at the intestines
is
and
Mark
tell you.
Scaris. Mark Scaris is into Rome. Did you ever listen to his podcast, Roman Lives?
I
How
don't
could you
think
not
so.
have heard of Roman Lives? The most amazing, interesting Roman
this like
podcast.
is this like historical or like
Yeah,
current
yeah, yeah. He's a big fan of like Roman history, so he
Oh,
does
dude, hold
he
on.
does a podcast about is like real characters in Roman history.
Let's pause this for like 20 minutes because I'm super interested in this now, and
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go watch this. Oh wait, this isn't Life in Roman Times on PBS. This is like a podcast.
Yeah, he does a podcast called Roman Lives.
All right, I'm gonna. All right, right after the
Write
show.
that down.
you'll listen
Yeah.
to that.
Trust me, if he finds out someone in this world is interested in it, he will find you. He'll-
I've been loving that lately. So I've been talking about. Well, this is weird. I'm gonna say this and try and not sound conceited.
That's cool.
Um,
We don't worry about that on this show.
Random like indie developers have been finding me on Twitter lately and kind of like telling me about their game, then like trying to get me to play it, and they'll like send me codes to play it, and then like afterwards they'll like send me an email, hey, like what'd you think? Tell me about it. Like it's really fun. Like
Have you ever tried one that's really bad?
not really bad, right? Like I
Have you had one where you were just like, I really don't want to tell the guy what I think about this?
yeah.
Yeah. Which one was it?
I'm not
You're not falling for that one.
not falling for that. No way. So, and here's my trick with that is, and it's kind of like writing a game's preview, right? Because in journalism, when you're writing previews, you're much more positive than you are in reviews. Because the goal with the preview is, to get the people that are interested in it kind of excited, unless it's just like a terrible game.
Yeah, you're not judging the game in a preview.
No,
Anything
yeah.
that you say there is just going to be like, well, the game's not finished yet, stupid. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. And so you're just looking for the stuff that you're excited about, like, oh, this has potential. So that's kind of what I do when I play it, like, because one of the games was pretty bad at first, but then it had a really cool puzzle system. And so immediately I was like, oh, this is really cool. And so I talked to them about the puzzle system, and there's no reason to tell him that maybe the voice acting was bad because he probably knows that, right? Like for a few,
Usually fairly obvious. Like,
yeah,
ow, you shot me in the arm with an arrow, guy. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's probably one of those things where it was him that did it because he didn't want to spend money on it. So he knows, like, okay, I'll compromise. He saves, a few $100 or whatever and just does it himself.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
That's how I'm going to do it when I make my game. I'm going to
Yeah.
be every character.
That's I hope you have female characters. It'll be
Hello.
awesome.
Yeah. How you doing, boys? There'll be strong female characters. So.
Yeah, it sounds
Yeah.
like coming
Yeah.
into a room saying, "How you doing?"
Hey, boys.
Female barbarian. I like it.
Yes. So you, sorry, I have to fix my wireless headphones. Not so wireless. The batteries run down. And I have my Mophie here. Mophie. I wish they would pay me to do this.
What is a mopey?
Mophie is I got this after E3 when I basically had to live off of my cell phone, and it would go dead after breakfast, basically. This is a battery brick that with USB cables ports that I can just carry around in my pocket, and then when my phone dies or anything dies, you just plug the USB side and then the other side into the device, and this will 3 or 4 times before it runs out of juice.
Nice.
Yeah, it's very small. It's discreet. This can
It's good
charge 2 things
product
at once. Yeah.
I hope I get like half the check you get for this product
I
placement.
know. If I wish they would make them taste better, because they don't have good flavored Mophis. All right, so getting back on track. So you get over to SOE, and you do what? So you're doing these interviews and whatever, and somehow someone decides that they're going to take a chance on you.
Yeah.
What do they have you do?
So they kicked me over to EverQuest 1, and kind of like agree that, okay, I can be trained there. And then after I get trained, we can take it from there. If I take to the training or whatever, if I'm actually
If it
decent at it.
sticks,
Yeah, if it sticks, pretty much.
This is basically like sperm. Basically, you just throw a whole bunch. Was there a bunch of you and you had to fight like
Yeah.
Hunger Games?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I took the bow. I took to the trees. My strategy was just to outlive them, so I let them kind of kill each other, and then just kind of merged at the end.
Bearded Katniss.
Bearded
With fewer nudes on the internet.
Yeah. Yeah, so I worked there, and a lot of EverQuest design is content creation. So I got to do a lot of content creation, designing new zones. Because compared to something like WoW or something that maybe newer MMO players are familiar with, EverQuest releases a lot more zones than WoW does. When WoW does an expansion every 2 years, there's like 5 zones.
Yeah.
EverQuest released like 20 zones every expansion every year or whatever.
Clearly way better than those Blizzard chumps.
Clearly. But the point of that was that I got to build zones. Like, I got entire zones put in my hand, which is cool. Like, you just get to kind of run creative.
Isn't that kind of small for you to...
What?
It was a hand joke, because
Oh.
your hand is small.
I don't think my hand is that small, my friend.
But I don't think I'd want to run
compare
around
it,
on
I'm
it.
pretty
No,
sure.
I have these little fucking hobbit hands. I know your hands are like, I can barely ride my bike. So now that I've ruined your story, they have you making. What was the most? So they have you making zones and adding content and shit in the original EverQuest. What was of all the stuff that you've done as a game designer, unless it's something that you're currently working on and aren't allowed to talk about, what was the most compelling thing that you think you've worked on? Like, what have you done as a designer that you're the most proud of?
Okay, I'm probably most proud of. So one of the zones I came up with was a Bixie zone in EverQuest 1. And Bixies are kind of like bee people. They have a very kind of like, not like Wonderland kind of vibe, but just very nature kind of outlandish. So I came up with a zone for the Bixie Warfront, is the name of it in EverQuest when it came out last year, I think. And it's basically the Bixies get driven into this war frenzy by this artifact. And so they drive underground and they build this massive like war machine. But they also have, civilians down there and all that sort of stuff. And the way we built the zone, for the first time we were doing like new what do you call it? Like random dungeons, essentially, was going to be the missions. And so I got to go through and build the story of these campaigns that go through these random missions. And so for each step, there's like 5 different options that could happen, but still kind of create a compelling story no matter which options are chosen along the way. And I put a lot of time into scripting. And that was the most fun for me as a game designer, because then also...
So you wrote script?
Yeah. And that's one of the most fun things about working on EverQuest, is they do full scripting, which not a lot of modern games let their designers do, because you can create problems, right? Like, we made infinite loops that crash the servers because we're designers, we're not programmers.
Oh, we're a bunch of dicks.
I know. We're pretty much idiots.
We did it again! Sorry, guys.
So we got a lot of freedom, and I really enjoyed that. With that scripting power, anything I thought of, if I put enough time into it, I could figure out how to make it and put it into the game. And so I got to build a lot of really cool, kind of what I think are creative, interesting events and objectives in there. that turned out to be really fun. And I got to do, man, I got to do one series in there that was all about Thunder Gun, which, are you familiar with It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia at all?
I am. I've just been watching through it. I think I'm up to season 8 now or something like that.
Okay.
But that's
So
what I watch while I play Diablo.
good man. So that's one of the greatest shows of all time.
Yes.
It's either season 8 or season 9 where they have the Thunder Gun.
Yeah, it's where they're driving in the movie and they can't get to it. Yeah. And fucking Danny DeVito steals the boat.
The boat. It starts, like, the stories about his whores and
Yes, and everything's about Charlie, how he sleeps with him, and they play fucking night crawlers.
Under the sheets.
One time he shit the bed and pretended it was Charlie. Okay. Yeah.
That episode is so funny too. All the dramatic.
And it's all these Chinese tourists, and he's translating for him. It's like, he say he fuck horse.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah. So I did a whole thing, and I got to throw in a ton of jokes and references to Thunder Gun, that episode, which is about like an action movie hero called Thunder Gun. And at the end, I have Thunder Gun in the game, like cheering, or in front of like a cheering crowd, and they're all shouting stuff from the episode and stuff, and it was really fun.
And Sweet D's covered in shit because she goes through the sewer, and her shoe gets stuck, and the wall of shit comes over her.
Charlie warned her, but
he told her to take her clothes off, but she thought he was just being a creep.
Yeah, he wanted to get naked and hold his clothes above his head
because the shit water doesn't go all the way up.
Yeah. Oh man, that's so good. No Man Left Behind.
Yeah, what a wonderful.
We'll come back for you.
Don't say that. So you did a Thunder Gun quest.
Yeah, which was really cool. So
I was going to ask if you ever done like Easter eggs or whatever, but you went right to it. I didn't even have to ask that. That's how I know you're a good interview. I
wasn't sure if I was going to talk about it because Easter eggs aren't always smiled upon, and sometimes you have to kind of sneak them in because people don't always like them and stuff.
Sometimes you get sued for them.
Like, yeah. And so a lot of the stuff, like, I made sure it wasn't like they don't do anything in the episode, and so it's just like the name, and it just happens, to be kind of a badass action hero, right? That does stuff. But and in that one too, that was also super fun. So I did a lot of late nights on this because I felt bad putting in really random kind of Easter eggs. Without putting in, some overtime because it wasn't required and I wasn't technically like supposed to do it.
You're like, people are going to have fun with this, so I better put in extra time so I can do this.
No, it's just like I had to get this amount of, work done in 3 days or whatever. And if I'm going to spend a day and a half on a part that's not really important, I should probably do that on my own time. But so anyways, I gave him a sidekick. And there are 10 steps in the quest. And I gave him a random chance to get murdered in a different way on every step, and every option that could happen on that step. So there was like 50 different ways that this guy died because he was an idiot. He just ran around and said really dumb stuff. And then there's like a 1% chance that he survives to the end. And then
name Big Red Boat?
No, I can't even remember his name. I don't know. Probably the name of someone that I didn't appreciate in elementary school or something.
Yeah. It's just you just switch the letters in his first and last name to
pretty much
protect him. So he runs around and
gets killed and all sorts. It's kind of like Kenny from South Park, right?
Yeah.
Like
so he keeps dying.
It was and usually in kind of hilarious ways, and you're always just kind of waiting for it because you know it's going to happen, and you're just like, how's it going to happen this time? So I really liked doing that in the game.
All right, we're running short on time.
All right.
I think we got everything out of you that we need to from a life perspective as far as your progress from PC gamer go boy to rock star game designer.
Yeah.
And now we have a little segment that I'm going to keep doing just because I like it. And essentially on the real show that I cribbed this name of this show from inside the actor studio. At the end of every workshop, James Lipton asks his guests something called the Pivot questionnaire.
Ooh.
And Pivot was a French gentleman, famous French interviewer actually, who did a show in France called Bouillon de Culture. I don't even know what bouillon means, but Something to do with culture. It was a culture show, but he
Okay.
had at the end of every show he had something. He had a series of questions that no matter what happened, he would always ask his guests the same questions at the end of the show.
You're making me nervous,
And
just so
then
you know. You're
over
like, this
time,
is a big build-up. Is it going to
don't
be
even
like
worry about it. No,
political
this is cool.
questions?
No, they're very easy questions.
Okay.
They're just. I'm sure they have some psychological meaning. And I don't know what it is. I just like the idea of having something that's the same.
Okay.
And these are actually based on something called the Proust questionnaire, which is a sociological thing. So these are 10 questions that every guest gets asked, and it's just interesting. So we'll kick that off, and then this is how we'll end the show.
Cool.
So what? Starting at the top. What's your favorite word?
Do I have to like answer immediately? Is this like whatever first?
You have a second to think. Like you don't have to.
Okay, it's
Now
probably...
you fucked it all up, Josh. Thanks.
Sorry. It's probably pajamas. It's such
Pajamas.
a fun word to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your least favorite word?
Oh, probably, what is it? It's occur? No, not occur. Oh, there's one word I hate because I can never spell it because it has like 2 C's and 2 P's and I can't get them right. Every single time, because every time I write it, I feel like a failure because word is just like, hey, you screwed up again.
And you're like, I was an English major.
I know!
Yeah.
I know, stupid computer. I know
Which
more
one
than
is
you.
it?
I don't know.
There's a word I have a problem with spelling too all the time. I think it's compromise is the one I have.
Okay.
Someone to compromise, not compromise.
Oh, compromise. Yeah, that is kind of a weird one.
Yeah.
I'll just say,
These are supposed to be your questions. What's your least favorite word?
I'm just gonna say, man, I can't remember. I'll just say occurrence. That's not it, but it's something like that word. So that's a fill-in. I hate occurrence because it's placeholder.
Because it happens. You hate occurrence because it happens.
Yeah.
What turns you on?
Ooh.
Yeah.
How?
It's the question. You can interpret it
Thank you
you
for
like.
asking, Sean.
Yeah.
I was hoping you would
Yeah,
ask.
yeah, I'm just pretending. I made up that whole Proust questionnaire shit. I'm just trying to...
I don't know. Sexy outfits?
Yeah,
Like,
turns you on
nice
could be
clothes?
interpreted as what things interest you, like what
Oh,
excites you.
it interests me?
Yeah,
Okay.
you don't have to go right to the gutter.
Whoa,
Yeah, yeah.
all right.
I don't
Man.
think James Lipton's trying to get boners out of his. Like,
He
I have
could.
Chris Rock on the couch.
I don't know this James Lipton guy. He could be into all sorts of weird
He
stuff.
does look like a fucking creep. He
Yeah.
was the prison warden in Arrested Development.
Oh yeah, dude, that guy's totally getting weird stuff going on. Yeah, he's asking so he can show up in their dressing rooms after the show and whatever.
Like, look, I happen to find a purple dildo.
Yeah. I will say new ideas.
New
I
ideas.
love learning new things,
Okay.
and I don't really care what it is.
What turns you off?
People that are mean to other people. I really don't like that, especially when it's like joking.
Yeah.
Like people when they make fun of someone and think it's so funny and want you to laugh. I don't like that.
All right. Are you trying to make me feel uncomfortable? Is that
No.
what it is? Is that are you trying to get digs in on me on my own show?
No, dude, I would never do that. I don't think you do that often.
No, I don't imagine I would cruelly make fun of someone in a
No. Yeah, because if you do, it's usually like you're exaggerating something. Like I don't like it when people like legitimately, oh, you're so bad at that game, ha ha ha, or whatever. Like what? Chill out.
Yeah.
buddy.
Yeah,
Chill
just calm down.
Yeah.
What sound do you love?
Ooh, ice cream trucks.
What sound do you hate?
Anything with teeth, like clattering or grinding or touching anything, it's terrible.
You're gonna swap on that ice cream truck thing when your kid.
Yeah,
learns
I
the
honestly,
sound.
I haven't actually, I don't know if I've bought anything in an ice cream truck since I was like 2.
I forget. I think my wife told the kids when the ice cream truck is playing music, it means it's empty.
Oh, can I steal that? That's great.
Until he figured it out. Like at one point, he saw kids buying ice cream from it, and like the whole thing was ruined. But she said that when it starts playing music, that means it's empty and it's going home.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. I thought I was pretty proud of her right there. I was like,
Well done.
way to lie to your children.
See, these are the sorts of these sorts of parenting tips that I need. I don't need people telling me to let my kid sleep when he wants to sleep. I need people telling me that sort of stuff.
Yeah. There's little tricks you can use. What's your favorite curse word?
Ooh. Probably shit.
Shit.
Yeah.
What profession other than yours would you like to attempt?
Ooh, attempt?
Yeah.
Like, does this guarantee that I'm going to be good at it, or do I have to
No, it's
attempt and
just,
fail?
yeah, you never know how you're going to be at something, but you're like, I'd really, if I had the opportunity today to throw everything away
Okay.
and do something new, this is something I'd find interesting. Like,
I would.
I'd like to be like a guy who studies sharks or some shit. Like, that'd be
Uh,
cool. Like being
is
out
that
on a
really what
boat.
you want to do? That'd be
Yeah,
sweet.
I think that would be cool to be on the ocean all day
Yeah.
and like, yeah. So like, but I
Hang out
mean,
in those
I'd have to go
cages.
back and take like 12 years of oceanography or whatever. So that'll
Yeah.
never happen. Yeah.
I would be, this is
Oops.
kind of
Yeah,
related, so I
sorry.
don't know if it's cheating. I would be like a fantasy novel writer.
Fantasy novel,
But I was kind of,
like
I
50
was kind
Shades
of,
of Grey.
yeah, not that sort of stuff. Like Harry Potter, that sort of like stuff. Like,
Stop it, Ron.
stop it, bro. Did you ever see Secret Window?
Why do I know that?
So it's the movie with, I'm totally blanking on
Was
his
it a
name.
book? Because I may have read the book and
It
not
was a
seen
book.
the
It's
movie.
basically about, spoilers.
'Cause I
A novel
was an
writer
English
who goes
person as
crazy and he's schizophrenic and becomes a murderer.
well. Yeah, I
And
don't know. It sounds familiar. I don't know why.
Okay. I always was afraid and kind of assumed that if I became a reclusive novel writer, I'd probably turn into that guy and like murder people. So I always just kind of steered away from that.
What profession would you like to not do?
Like just any or the one that
Yeah, like which one? Which profession? I try not to rephrase the questions too much.
Okay. All right.
But like,
Sorry. Then
like maybe least like, or just something that flat out. This is never an option.
can I say up front that I don't dislike people that do this and I don't want to get hey, I would never be a soldier.
Never be a soldier.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing disrespectful about the way that you said that. And I think most soldiers would recognize that not everyone wants to be a soldier.
Yeah.
Many soldiers don't want to be soldiers.
That's true.
If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Come in, I guess. Welcome.
That's that's fairly standard. Yeah. Or get out.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what
Yeah.
right. else I'd want him to say
What
like
the fuck are you doing here?
here's your free jello.
Yeah.
Like, that's cool.
Just shots for everybody. All right, we got about 10 minutes over. Thanks for watching. We'll put it all up on the YouTube channel. Make sure you follow the Twitch stream. So I'll actually probably play a game, or Laz might actually right after this is over. Just because today's video game playing day. We'll put this on YouTube. And everything will be great. Thanks for watching. I'd like to thank Josh Augustine. I was going to purposely mispronounce your name, so that you like. I would like to pronounce Josh
Augustine.
Augustine.
That's what I get on the phone a ton.
People spell my name with two N's, so they're like Conover with two. I get mail.
Oh.
And I'm like, I fucking sent you a check, you assholes. You can see my name. So I'd like to thank Josh for taking the time to talk to us. I'll be traveling to Europe for like 3 weeks, so it'll be at least a month before we do another one of these. But I think we can expect to try and do one of these at least once every month. I don't want to do them too often, but I think you're going to see a lot more of this type of content. And a lot more of us, just trying to do things that are a little different from what people are doing, and actually doing things that you guys find interesting. So any feedback that you have on this as well, I'm sure an article will go up with the archive broadcast and whatnot. Just leave your comments in there until we set up an email address or something. I can't pretend that I will listen to all of them and take them to heart, but you'll at least get them on the internet.
That's half the battle, right?
Yeah, it may be cathartic, and one of you may be capable of having good ideas, and at which point I'll steal it. So thanks a lot for watching. Thank you, Josh, for being here and drinking beer with me and telling me about your life. I'm sorry about the creepy teacher. And we'll be back in 3 to 4 weeks. And now it's time to play video games. So take care, everybody. Thanks.